Welcome, everybody. This is the first episode of the FullRange Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Johnson. Super excited to be with you. Thank you so much for listening. We are brought to you by the Old Walls Podcast, Old Walls House Podcast. Please take a few minutes. His episodes come out weekly, just like this is going to. He's a good friend of mine. He's been helping us through this process. I'm super excited for him. He's been doing it for a little over, 2 years now. I've been on that podcast before, and he's given us here a chance at FullRange to start a podcast kind of under him and help us through the thick of things. As you can see, it's kind of a work in motion here. Hopefully the intro worked okay. Hopefully it looks all right, sounds okay for you guys, and we're going to plug along. So today's episode, if you checked out the preview earlier in the week, we're basically going to have 3 segments. The first segment is going to be the Mental Health Minute, where we're just going to talk about some different subjects. It can be anything from anxiety to successes to a bunch of different things that we deal with in everyday lives, whether it be with our careers, our personal lives, relationships, whatever it might be. Segment 2 today is going to be Workout Wisdom with MJ. We're going to bring in my good friend Bill Gardner to talk about workout splits. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that's going to be about as it draws a little closer. And then the third segment this week is the Coach's Corner with my good friend Jordan Clark. We're going to just talk a little bit of sports, the NFL slate, the college football slate this coming week. We'll start with Thursday night football and kind of go through the weekend and give you some bets. We're, a little bit of fun at the end, while we go a little bit more serious and informational kind of to start and in the middle. So I'm super excited to start this journey with you guys. A little bit about me. Again, my name's Matt Johnson. A lot of my friends call me MJ. So if I have any friends on the podcast, you might hear them call me that. I am a JV head coach and assistant coach to a varsity team. Go Troy Trojans. You'll be hearing me talk about that season very soon. That's about 80% of my brain right now. The season's about 9 days away for our first practice. So starting this journey and starting our 2024-25 season's journey as well out there. I'm also a teacher. You'll hear me talk sometimes just through the struggles or successes of teaching and how that can cause things in personal life and things like that. We might try to bring in some coaches or teachers or former coaches or former teachers and talk a little bit about just the hardships, the successes, the lots of different things when it comes to our personal lives and professional lives when it comes to that as well. I'm also a dad. I'm a father of 2. I have 2 wonderful little girls. One is 9 and one is 6. You might as well put a 1 in front of both of those numbers. It feels like they're 19 and 16 at times with the rolling of the eyes and the sassiness and all the slaying, as the kids say. It can be very difficult. So we'll talk about parenthood and things like that as well. We'll talk about relationships, we'll talk about family, we'll talk about all sorts of different things here on the FullRange Podcast. And most of that is going to be kind of in our first segment with the Mental Health Minute with MJ. So every week we'll kind of pick like a feeling, it could be anxiety, it could be stress, it could be happiness, it could be a bunch of different things, and we'll just kind of talk. It could be just things that I'm going through, or maybe you guys out there in the FullRange community leaving comments, sharing, putting comments out in the videos and things like that. Give us some ideas. Maybe you guys are struggling with something and you want us to talk about it. I'd like to bring in some guests when it comes to that stuff too, but most of the time it'll just be a short segment of me kind of rambling on. through my experiences, and hopefully it helps you guys. The second segment today is going to be workout wisdom with MJ. I am a big gym rat. Basically, it's part of my work day every single day. So I go to work, from 7:30 till 3:30, 4 o'clock, doing my teaching job. And, during basketball season, it's basketball coach time, and I put on that hat. But I always find time, whether it be before school, after practice, before practice, whatever it might be, and work out. So this week, we're going to bring in my good friend, Bill Gardner, here in a little while, and we're going to talk some workout splits. So maybe you're starting your fitness journey, or you've been on a fitness journey for a long time. We're going to kind of discuss what we do on a daily basis in the gym or on our off days, what we think has worked for us, and other things that we've tried before. So that's going to be our second segment today. Our third segment is going to be the Coach's Corner with our good friend Jordan Clark. Sometimes Billy is going to stick around for that segment, and that's going to be kind of the more fun part of our show. So we're going to talk some sports betting, sports in general. Sports is a big part of my life as a basketball coach and a former athlete. I wish I still had some sort of athleticism as I'm getting older, but it's an important and fun part of life. So we're going to have a little fun at the end. So, to kind of break it down, we're going to go start a little serious, with the mental health minute. We'll talk a little bit about our workout wisdoms, whether it be with our diet, things like that, some informational as an above average, knowledgeable person when it comes to that stuff. So I'm learning probably through this process, and hopefully maybe you can learn a little bit as I am as well. So I'm going to share lots of information, lots of ideas, just talk about them, whether it be in the gym with cardiovascular exercises, it could be dieting, whatever it might be, we're going to talk about that process. And the third segment there, a little bit more fun, talking about just sports and, sports betting, especially this week, but, just having a little fun. We're also going to try to add in some segments. I'm thinking about calling the segment from sidelines to front lines, just a little segment from anywhere. So it could be a small business owner comes on and shares, some motivation of how they started up their business or what motivates them, and getting their name out there a little bit more. Maybe bringing in some former or current coaches and talking about sports seasons and how things are going and how they balance life and sports, and just kind of chit chat with some folks. It could be bigger corporations, smaller corporations. So we're going to try to fit that in every once in a while as well. So again, this podcast is going to be coming out hopefully every Thursday, and from here on out, and we're going to try to have fun with this thing, and it's going to kind of probably go up and down here a little bit, and I'm going to make some mistakes, and videos might not work, and sound might go off all of a sudden, but please stick with us as we're learning, and hopefully we can inspire you. We can make you feel, discuss, join the community, leave some comments, some advice, if I'm going through things, whatever it might be, maybe you learn something. And we're going to go through a full range of topics. So please join us on this ride. And we are going to get right into this thing. We're going right into segment number 1, the mental health minute here with MJ. So I'm by myself this week for at least this segment. We're going to bring in Billy a little bit later. We're going to bring in Jordan for the Coach's Corner segment as well later on. And I'm super excited for those. So this week we're going to talk about a pretty simple thing, and we're going to talk about fear. And I think for a long time, especially maybe prior to 3, 4, 5 years ago, I was very fearful of a lot of things. Now, first of all, on a personal note, terrified of bats, terrified of spiders. Actually, what I tell my kids in my classroom a lot is my 2 favorite superheroes growing up were Batman and Spider-Man, and those are the things that I'm most terrified of. If I see a spider in the house, or, I'm yelling for mom, I'm yelling for I yell for my kids to come kill that thing. Let alone if a bat ever was near me. That was always, back in the day when I used to do a little bit more fishing and things like that. Anytime the bats started to come out around the pond, it was time to pack up and go home. But anyways, I'm fearful of those kind of concrete things, but I wanted to talk about fear because I think fear is one of those things that's really powerful on the brain. And about 3 years ago, I started going to therapy, and a lot of things can really be brought back to a fear of something. And whether that be some trauma from a childhood experience or something later in life, or you just have anxiety about getting up and talking in front of a group or whatever it might be, it can really control you in trying to change that mindset. So I'm going to give you an example today. I've been talking about starting a podcast with my friends, myself, whatever it might be, for a few years now. And actually, Wally, who helps us out with this podcast through the Old Walls House podcast, I was all in. I love going on his show. I love talking. I love sharing ideas and learning new things. But I was always so fearful. And this summer I read a book. It was called Endure by Cameron Hanes. He's a world-renowned marathon runner, ultra marathon runner. And he does so many other things. He works a 9 to 5. He's like a CEO in some sort of company now. But he does all these things to be a better bow hunter. And me as a hunter, typically rifle and things like that, it really inspired me, the things that he would say in that book. And one of the things he talks about is how far can he push himself, whether that be mentally or physically. And that book really helped me through the process with therapy and the process of kind of being fearful to start this podcast and even just starting new things, trying new things, really helped me separate myself from those fears. So what's really cool about that, and the thing that I wanted to share was, most of the time, fear is like a giant ocean in front of you, and you're standing on the sand, and it looks like you can't see the end. You can't see the end of the ocean, whether you're looking right, left, north, it doesn't matter. And whatever you wanted to do is on the other side of that ocean. And it can be so daunting. And what it does is it tells your brain, we can't do this. You can't do it. And typically that's when the anxiety comes in. That's when the fearfulness comes in. But what I've learned is typically if you just step into that water, most of the time it's only ankle deep. And those fears can go away really quickly. And for a long time, with the idea of even just starting this podcast, it was so fearful to me. Like, what are people going to think? What are my friends going to do? Are they going to listen? Are they going to support me? Are they going to give me a hard time? Are they, even if it's half joking, are they going to support it? What if they don't? What if my parents think it's stupid? What are my kids going to think? What are some of my close friends going to think? Is it going to affect my work? Is it going to affect my coaching? Is it going to affect, the things that I do in the gym? And I've stepped in and I've been at this thing for a couple weeks, kind of playing with stuff now. And it's not near as deep as I thought it was going to be. So, talking about fear, I think is step one. Really, whether you're jotting it down in a journal of what you fear about it and really diving into what is the base of that fear. And I think for me in this process, starting a podcast was, what would others think? What are my friends going to think? What are my loved ones going to think? All that stuff. And it really doesn't matter. And when I've stepped in, and even throughout the process, I've been like, maybe I should just drop this. Maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. And, when I brought up that book, one of the things he said in that book, Endure by Cameron Hanes, was just keep going. When you don't feel like it, when you're telling yourself, no, I can't run that extra mile. I can't I can't get up today and do my workout, whatever it might be, or I can't go do that podcast because somebody's going to say something negative, just do it. And what you're going to realize is 99.9% of the time, that fear is going to go relatively quickly away. And so I hope with just this mental health minute, and it's more about probably myself, but maybe you guys are going through something that you're listening to, or maybe it's something that you've wanted to start and you're very fearful of what's going to happen or what it might look like or sound like. And I'm encouraging you to take that step, because once you take that step, it's going to build confidence for that next one. And you're just going to see that ocean of fear as just a little puddle that you're kind of going through. And, there might be some waves, there might be some where you get knocked down. But I encourage everybody to get up and keep going. So I hope you keep going and listen here at the FullRange Podcast. And that was our first mental health minute with MJ. So what we're going to do next is we're going to bring in Billy Gardner in just a little bit here, and we'll add him in. And we're going to go through some workout wisdom with MJ and Billy today. And I hope you stick around to join us. We'll be right back. And as promised, we are here, hopefully this time, without some technical difficulties, for segment number 2, the workout wisdom with Mr. Billy Gardner today, good friend of mine and a friend of the podcast. How you doing tonight, Bill?
Good. Doing good. How you doing, MJ?
Not too bad. How's the week been going?
It's good. Everything's going well.
Yeah. So for our listeners out there, we had the Coach's Corner. We tried this podcast last week, and it was kind of a disaster with technical difficulties. But just a real quick recap: we did go 4-4 on bets, but sadly, Bill, you were 0-2 on the NFL slate for the podcast last week. So
yeah, the Derrick Henry Ravens parlay.
You did hit that one.
Okay, I thought I got that one, but I know the other ones I did not.
The Browns money line and the Jake Ferguson touchdown fell a little short. But, maybe this is the week they'll hit. So during this segment we're gonna discuss a lot of different things, and Bill will join us a lot here, and he's been kind of one of my a fellow gym rat a little bit, and I feel like, Bill, we kind of like dove in like kind of hardcore to gym and the fitness type of lifestyle a little bit, or at least around the same time. So he's kind of been there for me for kind of through this process and even years before. So to kind of get us started, Bill, like I guess maybe like kind of what got you into working out a little bit more or being in the gym more and kind of focusing that into your life a little bit.
Yeah, so going to the gym has always kind of been a pretty big part of my life. Growing up, playing sports, working out was always incorporated with that. Even after I got done playing organized sports, I moved into just more lifting, playing pickup, intramural type stuff. And then after that, I'd say it kind of moved into the next phase. That's probably been the last 6 or so years, which I would say is more functional. And it's just part of my everyday life at this point.
Yeah, and I guess, maybe I was kind of underestimating how long you've kind of been going at it, but for a long time, like even, when I was at my heaviest, and I kind of mentioned in the preview this past week, my heaviest, I was 286 pounds and didn't really feel good. And that was back 17, 18 years ago, in college. And, I really dove into more of like the cardio stuff, trying to just burn as many calories as I can and, just try to lose as much weight as I can. And it's only been really the last 3 or 4 years, I guess, I've really dove into resistance training and, trying to hit that more and build some muscle. And not that I've gained weight, I've lost weight through that process as well. But I guess today's segment is, we're going to talk about workout splits. So any newbies to that might be a foreign language to some, like a workout split. So if you're kind of a beginner, that's basically like what you do on a week to week basis. And some splits are a little bit longer. So, traditionally we talk about push pull legs. There's the chest and shoulders, chest and tricep day, or there's the, back and buys is a traditional one. So we'll kind of start with what we're doing now. So if Bill, you want to kind of take us through your current split, and also if you can dive into if you change your splits or what you do like for off days or anything like that. So I know some guys like myself, I try to switch my split every 6 to 8 weeks. So kind of dive into what you're doing now in the gym and if you change anything at all or adjust things.
Okay. So over the past 5-6 years, I've tried a bunch of different ones. Pretty much anything that kind of popped up as new that I would read about or do a little research on, I'd try it out for a little bit. But I've kind of come back to the one that I'm using now, and it's pretty simple. It's your basic push, pull, legs, and I added a cardio day to it. So it's a 4-day rotation that I usually I'll run through and then just start it over again. I do mix in a rest day. I try to do. I'm in the gym probably 5 or 6 times a week, based on my schedule and like when I can get in there and what I can do. But I just continue on that same path. So if I left off with a push day, and for some reason I couldn't get there for 2 days, when I pick back up, I move right into the next day of the rotation, which would be my pull day. And I've found that for me, like keeping it simple like this with push, pull, legs, cardio that's worked well for me.
Yeah. And, it's funny because that's a little bit of the split that I'm on right now. There was the weeks before I kind of switched. I think I switched about 3 weeks ago to more of that push pull legs just to kind of give it a try. And I was really focused for a long time on almost just one muscle group a day, which I actually kind of enjoyed. I kind of felt a little bit more fresh at times. But right now, like I call it an 11-day split, but it's really just kind of what you were talking about. There's kind of almost a rest day, cardio day built in, and then you just restart. So right now I'm doing push, pull legs, and then I do a day of cardio. So I was actually interested. So before I go on with mine, like what kind of cardio are you doing on your cardio days?
So my cardio day is normally, because some of the other days I will add some like walking, maybe depending on how much time I have. If it's like a push or pull day, even legs, if I have enough time, then I try to throw in some just walking, just to stay loose. But on the cardio day, I usually shoot for like an hour worth of cardio, but it's a mix of, I'll do the stairs, I'll do the bike, the rower. We have an assault treadmill, the self-powered one. I like to use that. Sometimes I'll do like sprints on that, or I'll just do a jog on the treadmill or a walk outside. Even it's usually just kind of how I'm feeling. I mix it up a little bit every time I do it, but I just try to shoot for getting an hour worth of the cardio, whether it be a half hour on the bike and then a half hour on the treadmill. Just try to shoot for around an hour, just to give my muscles and joints a break for a day.
Yeah. So I and you know this, because we know each other so well, but for the listeners out there, I have a serious issue not doing cardio. Like I kind of enjoy it. I'm a little addicted to it, and I have to forcefully be like, you can't run today, man. Like you have to stay off the treadmill, stay, whatever. So I'm a little bit like you. You normally end your session with a little cardio anyways, whether it be walking or whatever. Um, I almost end every session except for leg day with some sort of at least zone 2 cardio, which is, your heart rate levels and stuff. And, we can go on and on about that. But, so then, basically after my cardio day, a lot of times I will take a rest day because my cardio days are typically my long run days. Like I'll go, like today was a long run day. We're recording this on Wednesday, but it was 3+ miles today, which doesn't seem long, but it's long for me, especially on days I don't necessarily want to. So tomorrow is kind of a built-in off day, and then I'll hit right back at it again. I'll push, pull. Sometimes if I'm feeling a little famished, especially with my legs, with all the cardio and biking and running, I'll kind of take a day off before I do legs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little flexible in it, and that was something I was interested in you in. But I know with work and everything that off days are sometimes just a necessity.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you get 2 or 3 days of, let's say you're just busy, life, work, whatever? How do you kind of get back into the flow of things? How do you pick it up? Like, let's say you end on a leg day and you have 3 days of work where you're not going to step foot in the gym. What's kind of your answer to that?
It's pretty rare that I'll go. It's rare that I'll go 2 days in a row. Sure, there's sometimes when I'm traveling for work that it's hard, but I will make myself use a hotel gym if I have to.
Yeah.
And I just try to find ways to make sure I get it done. And I just even if it's not the best setup, I just try to roll with, where I'm at in my rotation and just try to stick to that. It's a little easier for me to get in the gym consistently because with work, we have this health initiative program where you're allotted time during your workday and encouraged to exercise, to improve your physical fitness, in which, that's an opportunity that not everyone has. So I just make sure that I take advantage of that. So I can't remember the last time I went more than 2 days in a row without working out.
Yeah, and that is such a nice thing, and it's almost you wish like every professional level that
Yeah.
had something like that, really. And I was actually talking in the first segment, kind of before we got into the first segment about how making it a priority, and a lot of times I make it's part of my work day. Like I just it's either I got to fit it in before teaching, after teaching, before practice, after practice, because I told the listeners that I coach basketball and all these things, and like it's almost a non-negotiable. Like
Yeah.
even my kids, like I gotta they're gonna be dumped off somewhere so I can get that hour of gym time or whatever it might be that day. And sometimes I gotta speed it up. Sometimes it's kind of a half-ass workout, but at least I did something that day.
Yeah.
So, are there any other splits that you've tried, or I guess my question is there other splits that you tried? If so, which one, or even if it's the one you're on now, which one did you feel like kind of works the best?
So, I mean, I'm not great with cardio. Adding
Yeah.
the extra day of cardio has been good for me because before I used to just be on like a 6-day rotation of kind of similar stuff, move around some of like the muscle groups, but it was 6 days in a row of weight training. And that was when I was doing your traditional lifts too, bench press, deadlift, squat. And what I'm doing now, I've kind of moved away from a lot of that stuff. And I think now what I'm doing has worked the best for me. So on my push day, I've got chest, shoulders, and triceps. And because I'm in the gym usually 6 days a week, I try to set myself up where I can get a good workout in every single day, but able to recover enough so that I can do it again the next day. So like I've changed it up to where, sure, I'm going to do chest, shoulders, and triceps, but I'm only going to do maybe 2 exercises on each muscle group. But what I do now, and in the past I've done the tradition, your 3 sets of 10, your 4 sets of 12. Like I've tried all that stuff and it was fine. But what I do now, and this has been my favorite, and I've been doing this for a little while now, this is my favorite thing, is I call them working sets. I do 2 sets. So I might only do 2 exercises for my chest, and I might only do 2 sets each of those exercises. But in those sets, I'm pushing all the way to failure.
Yeah.
I'm completely exhausting the muscle on those 2 sets. Same for my pull day. That's just back and biceps. Same thing. 6 total, 7 exercises, but 2 sets each to failure on each one. Legs are a little different. Legs, I don't know. I think this comes with just being a little older now. I've moved away from some of the things that were causing just aches and pains. Like when I was doing the squatting and the deadlifting, even though I think they're great exercises and they can be super beneficial if you can do them safely and recover from them, I'm just at the point now where they just left too many like nagging things. So with legs, I'm still doing the failure thing, but I'm mostly on machines now for legs. It helps my body recover, less injuries. So that's what I've been doing now has worked really well for me.
Yeah, and I've been a little bit on that train. So as you were talking, during these last 2 different types of splits that I've done, both times I'm kind of more on what you're doing, where I'll kind of do that warm up set with a moderate kind of easy weight, and just to kind of get some blood flow to that muscle group. Sometimes if I don't feel like I kind of got some blood flow, or I feel like I didn't stretch it enough in that kind of that warm up, maybe do another one. But then I typically just do 2 of the heaviest I can do, and maybe try to get 5 or 6 reps off. And like, even if I do some partials, which for, the listeners, even if you're just not even getting halfway, like let's say on a pull down or a bicep curl, whatever it might be, I try to get to that 5 or 6 range, even if it's some partials, whatever it might be. So, and I've really felt like it's cut my gym time a little bit, like the time I'm at the gym, and I have felt like that's kind of fed into, well, I got to do some cardio then. Like I got to get a sweat. Like I got to really like go, because if I only do 2 or 3 sets of something, and they're 2 or 2 or 3 workouts, and I do 2 sets of 5 or 6, I might be a little heated up, but I'm not getting that like sweat like I used to. So it's funny that you brought that up, because I feel like I've actually noticed the most during the split of a little bit of progress when it comes to muscle growth. Where like one week I might be doing a certain weight, and the next week, I added 5 pounds or 2.5 pounds or whatever it might be.
Yes.
Legs. Something interesting that you said, and we're kind of winding down here, but and I've read some things too, and I don't know how you feel about this, but because there's such a big muscle group, doing a little bit of lighter weight to failure with higher reps, I've read that can still build those, the leg muscles just because they're such a big muscle. What's kind of your theory? I know obviously with injuries and stuff, but do you typically go a little lighter on those and try to just push it to failure, but maybe hit that 12 to 15 rep range instead of that maybe 5 to 8?
Yeah, I guess I would say I'm probably like, because I'm not trying to max anything out, and I don't mind doing a lot of reps when it comes to legs. So I'll try to go as heavy as I can, but I still like to hit, even though I'm doing those failure sets. I still like to get maybe 12 to 15 reps in there, because things that I've read about and researched and stuff is, I've seen some guys, that do, they'll do sets of 30 on like squats and stuff. And everyone's different. Everyone there's 1,000 different ways to gain muscle. And everyone has different opinions on the best way to do it, but it's just finding what works best for you. And that's kind of what I found that I like. The big thing for me is like, I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I want to feel, like I'm working hard. I want to get some real stress on the muscle, but I don't want to hurt myself. So I try to find that fine line of pushing it as far as I can while still being safe about it.
Yeah. And I think that was great advice that you kind of fit in there of just finding the time and making it a priority, like in whatever works best for the individual person. Yeah. And I hope that's kind of the takeaway that, listeners can get in this is, a lot of this may have sounded foreign to you, but you have to understand, like, Bill's talking about how he's been in the gym for 6-7 years of really going at it. And, me being 3 or 4 years in of really going at it. And it's just now where we're starting to kind of feel like, hey, this really works for us. And, but that consistency, finding out when and where works best for you, how many days a week you're willing to sacrifice to go in there. So I think that's really, really good advice. So, before I go ahead.
The consistency thing is huge. I think you can really, like, if you're serious and you want to like start working out a lot. I'm not an expert. I'm not a professional. I just enjoy working out, and I read a lot of stuff about it. But I think like one of the easiest ways to break it down is you just have to be consistent and push yourself. If you can just do those two things, you're going to see a ton of progress. Because you can go to the gym and push yourself, but if you're only showing up once every 2 weeks, you're not going to get anywhere. Or say you go every day, but you're not actually pushing yourself. So sure, you're consistent and you're getting in there. But if you're just going through the motions and you're not, really putting some stress on yourself, you're also not going to see any progress there. So it's just push yourself, be consistent, and you'll see big changes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to leave off the workout wisdom this week. So thank you very much, Bill. Obviously, I'll be talking to you soon, and we'll probably get a workout in soon together as well and everything. And I'm sure we'll have you back a lot. We plan on talking diet and specific exercises and all sorts of things here in the workout wisdom, even a little sports stuff kind of worked in with that as well. So I appreciate you very much, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. And coming up next, we got Mr. Jordan Clark wrapping it up today with the Coach's Corner, and we'll see him in just a minute. And just like that, we are back for the third segment of the FullRange Podcast today. On our first episode, segment 3, the Coach's Corner with Mr. Jordan Clark, a good friend of mine, a college football in general, savant, and he's fantastic. I can't wait for you guys to hear all the info he's got for you. How you doing today, Jordan?
Good, Matt. Good. Happy to be here.
Good. How's the week? How's everything going? I know football's in full swing. What do you guys got going on, like moving forward this weekend or?
Yeah. We we had a bye down here. We're the number one seed in our district. I coach high school ball down here, and ramping back up. We got our first playoff game this weekend, so it's been a long week, but I'm excited to play some ball this Friday and watch some games this weekend.
Yeah. Who do you guys play on Friday night?
We played Cumberland Valley. Week 1 this year. They're the number 9 seed, so we feel pretty confident, but you never know playing a team twice.
Yep. Well, good luck, and we'll definitely, obviously I'll be watching on my phone and all that good stuff too. So we're going to kind of dive right into it. So, we're recording this on Wednesday. There's some college football tonight. I was just actually checking some scores. Northern Illinois is up right now. I saw, I think Ohio is beating somebody right now. So I was actually almost put a little money on the Northern Illinois game a little bit tonight. I probably should have, but I second guessed myself. But we're talking tonight's game. Obviously, this podcast will drop tomorrow. For Thursday night football in the NFL, we got the Cincinnati Bengals, who have looked a little better, I would say, as a team. I don't know if their competition has been as strong recently, but they're going into Baltimore tomorrow as 6-point dogs. A pretty high total for a Thursday night football game at 52.5. So, Clark, anything kind of there that you're leaning at or that you think you might like in that game tomorrow?
Honestly, I kind of feel like it's a must-win still for the Bengals. It's kind of like the same situation they were in a couple years ago where they started off, I think they were 0-3, had to come back to make the playoffs. But I just saw Baltimore's new jerseys. I don't know if you got to see them yet. Those helmets.
I have not.
You wait till you see those helmets. They are awesome.
This might be a uniform bet, you're saying then.
I was getting there. Yeah, so I'm going to take just take the Ravens just strictly on how cool their uniforms look.
I love it, man. I think that's it tomorrow. All right, it's Ravens -6. Mm-hmm. It plays against everything that we probably know and love about sports betting. You got a divisional matchup on a short week, that +5.5, 6-7 point dog, everything screaming Bengals. We're riding Baltimore tomorrow. That's what we're doing. We might even ride the Bills' best bet last week of the Derrick Henry touchdown and Ravens money line. Maybe we'll just ride that again too.
It'll be $250 for a Derrick Henry touchdown, so you might as well throw it on there, I guess.
I checked it today, -280. It's ridiculous. It's CMC from last year, basically. Like you push the button and hope to God they win too, and just play that little parlay. But I kind of like the over a little bit, just because it screams points. Like Bengals defense has not been great this year. And sneakily, Baltimore, like, they can put some pressure on the quarterback. Their secondary hasn't been that sharp. Like, they kind of can give some chunk plays up to. I could see, Ravens 35, Bengals 28, or, something in like that range. So,
the only thing, chime in real quick, the only thing that always scares me with the Ravens over is if they get up by a couple scores. Mm-hmm. Their ability to run the ball with Lamar and with Derrick Henry and just chew clock, control the fourth quarter. That always scares me because they are the best rushing team in the NFL, and with the fact that they can do that, overs are scary. But I agree with you, man. The Bengals can score. Baltimore's going to score too. I just hope that Baltimore doesn't get up by so much that they're just going to start chewing clock.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I've said this to you before, and I know last week with some technical difficulties and stuff, but I kind of even like first half Ravens.
Yeah.
They're a really good first half team. Being at home, short week, like they got some new pieces with Deontay Johnson being traded there last week, and like they got another few days to kind of get in rhythm a little bit. Like they could be up by 2 touchdowns at halftime. Mm-hmm. And then maybe, they do have trouble in the second half. Maybe the Bengals try to get like a backdoor cover, but some good things. I don't think that might be like a crazy play for either one of us, but I'm going to probably put some money on the Ravens tomorrow. It's a uniform bet tomorrow. So, So I mean, now I guess it's on to college football, and for our listeners, man, like shit about college football that I watch college football and I love betting college football. I love talking college football, but this guy, a lot of stuff, man. So I'm going to kind of let you cook here. I know we got some games Friday night. We got a big slate on Saturday. Kind of go through maybe a game that you really enjoy. Not the best bet yet, but yeah, something that you're looking at.
All right, yeah, cool. Man, so I did a parlay, 2 parlays last week. One of them lost because there was a couple upsets that got caught in there, but unfortunately, I am a absolute every single week I get the Northwestern picks. Unfortunately, they have a bye week this week, so I don't have anything there. Last week, I took Northwestern and Purdue in the under. I took Northwestern to win. I took the Cats points. They won that game. Made a little chunk of change off of that. But with them not playing, I had to look elsewhere. So there was really, I don't honestly love anything in the Thursday, Friday games. Like everything's kind of like, I think Vegas did a really good job setting a lot of those spreads and a lot of those over-unders. But I did kind of look through today, looked at guys that were injured, looked at location. You always got to look at the weather too. Yeah. And 4 games that stood out to me, and I'll save my best bet for the end. First one is the Holy War. That's between BYU and Utah. That game is at Utah. BYU is a good football team, but Utah is getting plus 3.5 at home. I look at that in a game that Utah has really owned BYU. I like the Utes plus 3.5 at home. Maybe they don't win the game. Maybe lose by a field goal. But give me 3.5 with a home Utah team in the Holy War.
Okay. And can I say something on that one real quick? My only concern, I did hear that Rising might not play. Yeah.
The year.
And did the backup get hurt too?
He's dinged up, but they've run a 3-quarterback system. They did it last year when Rising got hurt too, in the beginning of this year. I know it's a rivalry game. Things can go either way. Utah's got a really good defense, and I think just being at home in that game, I'm not sold on BYU. I've watched them play twice now this year. They're good. Don't get me wrong, but I just have a feeling the Utes at home, and that 3.5 tells me something. But they not get any bigger than that they think Utah's got a shot in that, and so do I.
That's one of those games I looked at, and just because it's got the cool little Holy War thing, yeah. And I was like, it makes me want to take BYU just because everything kind of points to them. But it's one of those. It is one of those times like Utah's tough to play at, especially at night. And I mean those guys are going to be going nuts, and the atmosphere is going to be incredible. And it's just that line, man. Like they just got to cover a field goal. Like it kind of jumps out at you. So. We got Utah plus 3.5. What else do you like?
This one may not be as popular out there, but I'm going way at the bottom of the barrel in college football. I looked at the Kennesaw State versus UTEP game. UTEP is really bad. Let me make that very clear. They're god awful, but Kennesaw State is worse. And yes, I know everyone knows Kennesaw State from the video game. Usually the team you want to be because they're so bad, you want to build them up, but they are legitimately really bad. Yeah, it's only their first year playing D1 football. That game's in UTEP. UTEP is a minus 3.5 in that game. I look at UTEP, the teams they've played. Like they played Northwestern last year. They played other Big Ten teams this year. Kennesaw State is just getting their feet wet. They played 1 AA teams this year, and obviously last year being D1 AA. I'll take home against a minus 3.5. Give me the spread up.
I love that one. I have not seen Kennesaw State play. I know they're bad. Mm-hmm. I have seen a couple UTEP games.
They're bad.
They're bad too. This could be ugly, but I do like the home favorite. I think in this one, I think even the line kind of screams like they think. They're trying to get somebody, the casual bettor out there, to be like, well, Kennesaw State can cover a field goal. Like, they're both bad teams. And UTEP I could see winning by 10 or, 10 plus.
it
Go
was.
ahead.
I can't remember what team it was, but a couple of weeks ago, Kennesaw State lost a heartbreaker, and for the love of me, it's evading me. But I think the fact and they were home. I think the fact they lost that game so close is really starting to be like, oh, Kennesaw State's on the rise. I still just don't see them beating UTEP and UTEP or even covering.
Was it the Liberty game?
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their schedule. They actually beat Liberty by a field goal.
Is that
So
what
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
And that probably gave everybody kind of that, like, oh, maybe they're turning it around or something. Because I think Liberty's, like...
Liberty's not the same of old Liberty.
Yeah.
Watched them a couple times. They're still beating up on those mid-level teams, but they are not as good as they were years past. I think they've obviously have a winning record, but they're not.
I mean, Kennesaw State they lost to Middle Tennessee 14-5. Jacksonville State beat them 63-24. So, like, I love this, man. That's gonna be. I'm probably gonna add that one as just a straight bet on Saturday. Like, I'm gonna lay the 3.5 and let UTEP go to work. I'm gonna jump into one here.
Yeah.
I got to talk about my Buckeyes a little bit. Laying 36.5 at home against Purdue. Am I wrong in thinking Purdue can just kind of hang around?
Yes.
At 37. I'm wrong about that?
You are. They have the worst. Northwestern put up 26 on them, man. And Northwestern has scored 5, 3, and 0 this year. They're bad.
Maybe it's just the recency thing of like Ohio State playing some tougher competition, but it's just sometimes their offense is so stagnant and they just hunker down a little bit, and their defense is really good. And I think that's kind of the thing where I'm like, they could score 38 and Purdue might not score, but it's just, that's such a big number. I was just kind of wondering what your thoughts were. I'm going to stay away from it.
I think the over
53.5.
Like you just said, it legitimately.
Yeah.
I don't see Purdue scoring. Purdue's not good. I mean, Hudson Card's not bad as a quarterback, but they don't have any weapons. They're not going to do anything against the Ohio State. But like you said, Purdue's so bad on defense. Ohio State might put up 50 points, but that they might get stagnant and just be comfortable, 35-0 win. So I like the play of staying away from that game.
Yeah. The one game I am on that I'm going to add to kind of one of our straight bets here is Alabama going into LSU.
Okay.
It's a really big game. I know Death Valley and all, the Tigers down there can be insane and they're really tough to beat. But I'm going to take the 2.5 with Alabama. I just think Alabama is like sneakily creeping back up into that college football playoff range, and they just I can't see them dropping another one to LSU. And I know history might tell me different. They've had some troubles in there before. But I just think that roster, especially offensively, is too talented. I think they're kind of going under the radar, but slightly ascending. And I'm going to lay it with the Crimson Tide. I don't love it, but I just have this feeling Alabama wins by a touchdown. And I'm going to take the Crimson Tide. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are the fourth game on my page. Alabama Crimson Tide -2.5 at LSU. Same thing. There's no way they lose 3 games in a season. They're playing for their college football life. LSU's good, but they're not great. Yes, it's scary they're playing at Death Valley but too much firepower. I would be shocked. And now, if you look at it too, Vanderbilt's not as bad of a loss. I mean, you see they lose to Vanderbilt, you're like, oh my God, they lost to the worst team in the SEC. They're number 25 in the country now. They've picked up a couple huge wins. Yeah, you should have won that game, but at Vanderbilt, you kind of can let that game go a little bit. I'm with you on this 100%. I also think their coach, I know this sounds crazy, in his first year, might be coaching for his job security going in the future. I like the Tide as well.
The only thing that worries me about that game, besides like the typical like going to LSU and all that stuff, is I don't love the coaching situation. I really like. I don't know how that locker room is. You see videos of players throwing fits on the field and just kind of acting undisciplined and stuff, and that always worries me. But I trust their quarterback at Milroe there. I think he's under the radar, one of the best players in college football. I'm gonna take it as I'm just gonna kind of blindly take it and throw some money on it. So,
Speaking of coach, real quick, last thing. Speaking
yeah,
of coach too, I think that I can never say his name. DeBoer. I think that's how you say it. Washington, now Alabama's coach. I think he came from a culture in Washington where he just had different style of players about them, like Odunze and Penix Jr. and all those guys that had a little bit of swag and arrogance, but they could control it. I think he tried to bring the same exact style of coaching to Alabama, and it's just a different breed of kid that they take down there in Bama. And I don't think that correlation between his coaching style and the players they have at Bama are there yet. I don't think the discipline's there yet. You can see it. Everyone's saying Nick Saban would have this locker room have no problem. But I'm sure Nick Saban had an adjustment period as well, learning how to coach at Alabama.
yeah,
It'll get better.
I love it. I love it. What else do you have for us?
All right, I only have one more that I like before I get to my lock of the week. I said this last week, and I was proven very much incorrect, but I'm going to go with it again. I took Michigan State last week to either upset or to stick with Indiana, and I'm being honest here. They got blown out of the water. It was 10-0 to start the game. I'm like, you know what? Here I go. I'm right. Indiana cruise 147-10. However, they're playing home with Michigan this week, and Michigan is again a 13.5 dog. Yes, Michigan got backdoor covered against Oregon last week. Same thing, just such a storied program in Michigan. I just don't see them continuously losing losing football games. I'm not going to take them outright, but if you give me 13.5 with Michigan, even though it is in Indiana, I am going to take the Wolverines to cover that game.
I like it. That's one, I've kind of said it. I said it last week when we were kind of having our technical difficulties and stuff. But Indiana's kind of been my like little wagon. Like I just kind of keep riding it. And every week it's kind of paid off for me. Before I go, I'll say they are in my teaser of the week. I do have Indiana -2.5 in that teaser that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But I got to ride with them. They're my wagon that I just keep going, and I'm going to go until they take away money from me. So yeah, they've been really solid for me. I think they're underrated, but I do worry about the -13.5. Like that's a lot of points coming off a big win. Michigan not covering. It does feel like maybe they win by 10 or 8, or if they win the game, and I think it could be a sneaky Michigan money line bet too for somebody out there, but I'm not going to do that. But I do like the Michigan +14, +13.5 as one of them too. So I'll throw one more in there.
I'll go ahead.
I'm going to ride Oregon this week. It's a big spread, and I don't necessarily love taking those. But Oregon going at home against Maryland. Maryland has not impressed me this year. I thought they were going to play better. -25, I think it is, 25.5. Like, I'm just going to blindly, again, just be like, they're one of the best teams in the nation. Covering 4 touchdowns, I don't think is out of the question for them with that offense at home. Maryland having traveled out there, like that's going to be a straight bet for me as well. So, who do you got for your best bet?
All right, my best bet of the week. I've watched him 3 times this year. Unfortunately, I watched him kick the teeth in of my Northwestern Wildcats, and I just cannot believe the spread that I saw. I was like, literally had to look twice. Yes, I know UCLA has won a couple football games. They were down in the dumps. Yes, I know it's in UCLA. It's a little bit of a trip. But Iowa -5.5 at UCLA just screams a straight take for me. Iowa's a very good football team. They have a double quarterback system with McNamara and the old quarterback from Northwestern. Not even going to mention his name. Defense is very good. They have really good special teams, good kick returner. I think that UCLA's riding the high horse right now. And Iowa is going to need to pick up a couple more wins to try and get in that contention for a better bowl game. Give me the Hawkeyes at
I love it.
-5.
Pound it. Pound it. Everybody lock it in. I love that one because it's the perfect line that I love to play. A road favorite of 5.5. It's like, for some reason, I love that because I feel like it tricks so many people being like, well, geez, they don't even have to cover a field goal. They could cover 4 or 5 points. Like, there's no way the home dog loses by that much. And I feel like Vegas is just trying to trap you into taking UCLA. I love that best bet, man. That's fantastic. My best bet for the week, and I don't know if I love it, is I had it written down. Georgia -2.5. Where are they at this week?
Ole Miss.
Yes, Ole Miss. So Ole Miss was my early season wagon. I was riding those, and I talked to you about that before. I think Georgia's just gonna. They're getting right. I think Ole Miss is a very, very good football team. I think they're playing for a lot this weekend. But I just don't see Georgia losing really probably again for a little while. So I'm taking some big top 25 teams this week with Alabama and Oregon. But I'm going to ride Georgia as my best bet, -2.5 on the road.
I will say, last thing I had on my paper that I did not. I knew we only had so many picks here. I have Georgia Ole Miss over 54.5. So if you really want to do the same game parlay, I think the dogs are going to be able to score at will against Ole Miss. And I think Ole Miss is going to score enough because they have one of the best offenses in the country. I like that 54.5. And if I were to pick, just to reassure you here, I also would take Georgia. It's two of my.
Yeah. The only concern with me is their quarterback's been turning it over a little bit. That as long as, and Ole Miss doesn't necessarily have that fantastic defense where I'm hopeful that he takes care of the ball. They move it down the field, take care of business, and win by at least a field goal. So we'll move on to Sunday, if that's all right.
Do it.
Yeah. So, before we got on here, I told you that I don't love the NFL slate this week. I feel like Vegas is kind of nailing some of these lines down. I feel like it's been pretty tough. So one game that I do like, I hate it. I want so bad to take the Giants in London against the Panthers. And I feel like everybody's on the Panthers that I've seen or talked to I think they're getting 6 now. I know it's going to be an ugly game, but to me it's like either take Bryce Young coming off a good game where they looked better on offense, but he's still kind of like a half rookie, first time to London. Like, give me Daniel Jones, who's been in the league for a little while, Tyrone Tracy against that Carolina defense. Like, I just feel like Bryce Young's going to get pressured. Giants can get after the quarterback with Thibodeau and Lawrence and all these guys up front. Like, I'm worried about it, but I want to lean that way for London. But everybody's on the Panthers. So talk me out of it.
The only thing I'll say is the Panthers have 2 wins this year. Both teams that they beat fired their coach. Not right after the game, but have eventually fired their coach. We know that the Giants coaches. I like this one as well, just because I feel like it's a must-win for their coaching staff. Like you said, a little more familiarity with those guys playing perhaps overseas or in more regular season games. And the Panthers to win 2 games in a row.
Yeah, and it's again that little sweet spot of a road dog or a road favorite at 5.5. Like, I just kind of feel like they're trying to bait me to take the Panthers, and everyone on my social media and all these different things are like, "Oh, it's got to be the Panthers." So That's one of the plays that I like. Does anything jump out at you on the Sunday slate? And we'll kind of get into some best bets for Sunday.
One other thing I'll really quick
Yeah.
add. I took the Giants to beat my Commanders last week, and they damn near did. They're bad, but they're not as bad as some teams give or some people give them credit for. So, I mean, for me personally, man, like you said, same thing. Really tough lines when I looked at them today, and that's kind of defer to you and kind of make my choices as we go. I don't love any of the games myself on this slate. So if you just want to grab one or two more, we can just chat about it or whatever you want. Yeah, me, I have my pick of the week, but that's it.
Yeah. So I kind of like Detroit Sunday night. I think Houston is a very dangerous team, and I know Nico Collins is looking like maybe he's going to be coming back this weekend. He's been practicing this week. I think they're getting a little healthier in some spots, but I don't trust their defense as much as I did a year ago, and I just think Detroit is playing at a level right now. It's going to be indoors in Houston. Jared Goff's really good indoors. Even if this line got up to somehow -4, I think I'd still lean the Lions. I think a lot of the public's on Houston because they have a good record and all these things, but I don't really know if they've played a lot of great teams. They played the Colts a couple times, and the Lions are a little bit more battle tested, going to Green Bay and playing, some top-notch teams. It just tells me it's a little trappy, and I think the Lions are still going to keep rolling. So I'm going to stick with the wagon there for Detroit.
So that's really funny. What did you use to describe this? What was the word you just used?
Trappy?
Trappy, right? Right
Yeah.
here on paper. I have trap game.
Yeah.
I think the Lions are by far away in the NFC in my best football team, pound for pound, size for size, defense for offense. They're really, really good. I actually have this as a trap game, and I have Houston Texans in this one, and only for the reason why I just feel like majority of the time in the NFL, when teams are rolling, when teams win 7, 8, 9 games in a row, at some point they have to fall. I think the Texans just are good enough to do that. Maybe the Lions make some crucial mistakes or turnovers, and I'm just going to, gut feeling, I'm going to take the Texans.
Is that the best bet?
It is the best bet. Yeah. That's
okay. All right.
I don't want to pay it, but yeah. My best bet is the Texans to cover. Maybe not money line.
A little sprinkle on the money maybe from you, or no?
I'm not going to do that, no. But I would. I'm going to take the car. I think it'd be a good football game.
I think it could be incredible. Both defenses have played a little shaky at times. Detroit's defense isn't great. They just played so well offensively. They get so many teams in passing situations, and and their special teams has been incredible. So I could see it. I'm on the other side, but I love it. The only other game that I'm really I have to go to war with is Philadelphia going into Dallas. As a Dallas fan, I can be realistic. Dallas has not played well at home. They have injuries up the Yahoo, and this has Philly by 2 touchdowns written all over it. Philly's getting healthier by the week. They're playing better by the week. They've had some down times in their games. They let Jacksonville kind of back into the game and stuff. I don't think the Cowboys have any chance to backdoor cover this. I'm all over the first half spread. I'm all over the -7. If this gets to -8, I don't care. It's Philly. That's my best bet of the weekend.
Is Trey Lance starting for the Cowboys, or is it Cooper Rush?
It's Cooper Rush. Got a good record, 5-1 as a starter. And it's a division game, and laying more than a touchdown can be tricky, but I think that's where they're trying to get us, and I think Philly goes into Dallas and rolls them, and Jerry probably tries to make another trade or some dumb shit, and whatever he wants to do. So, anything else?
No, I mean I'm kind of with you with that last pick. I don't think Philadelphia is that good though. But again, every single week I take the Cowboys to cover, and every single week I lose it. So I'm with you. I like that line where it's at. I'd agree with that pick as well.
So we kind of skipped over it. But what we'll do is, if you could give me, let's go 2 plays from you that you feel most confident about for college football, and I'll throw 1 in there, and we're gonna parlay that son of a bitch, and we're gonna pay for some drinks this weekend, pay for your wife or significant other's dinner, whatever it might be. We're gonna make lots of money. So what is it gonna be for college football?
Iowa -5.5 at UCLA. That is my lock of the week. And my second best bet's a little scarier, but I'm okay with it. I'm taking UTEP -3.5 at home against Ohio State.
And I'm going to add in my best bet, Georgia. Like I think it's Georgia's time of the year. I think they're going to be playing their best ball. We're adding Georgia. So we got Iowa -5.5, UTEP -3.5, and Georgia -2.5. That's going to be some plus chicken right there. That's going to be pretty nice. Probably plus 300-400 right there. So
You're feeling take Iowa at like -9. Man, I think they smoke UCLA.
I love it. So my teaser for college football. So I every week I've been really hot on these this year. So I kind of pick 3 or 4 games that I like to add a little points or take some away that I feel good about. So this is a plus 100 teaser at 11 points. So it's 11-point tease. I got Penn State at home against Washington -2.5. You know, not giving up a field goal, just a field goal. I got Notre Dame versus Florida State at home, giving up a touchdown and a half. So 14.5 points. I just don't see how Notre Dame doesn't beat them by more than 2 touchdowns. I got Alabama going into LSU, kind of a little hedge here at plus 8.5. So taking the Crimson Tide more than a touchdown. And again, I said my little wagon that could. Indiana at home -2.5 is the plus 100 teaser of the week.
All right.
So I like that. So NFL, I'll do 2 plays, and if you want to add 1 to the parlay, we're gonna be millionaires by the end of the weekend. I got Philly -7, and we're gonna throw in. And this isn't one we talked about, but we're going to throw it in there. We got Falcons on the road at the Saints. I don't care how the Saints looked last week with Derek Carr and all this stuff, losing and everything like that. I don't care if it's a heartbreaking loss. Falcons are going to make a statement in the NFC South and go into New Orleans and beat them by more than 3.5.
All right.
What do you like one for the NFL play?
For me, if you can get this bet in Thursday before the game, Ravens to cover.
Let's go.
Against the Bengals. That would be my lock of the NFL week. If you can't, if you're waiting for the weekend, I know it's a little bit crazy, but give me the Texans. I have to stay with that. Plus, I think it's +4, right? +4 Lions.
I love it. And I love that that's a Sunday night game. So Philly takes care of business, Falcons take care of business, and then you just sit back and relax on Sunday night. You could even hedge it then. You could even be like,
Yep.
You can just take the Lions for a bunch, and either way you're gonna make some money. My NFL teaser this week, I love it, and we'll let you go after this. Chargers at home against the Titans. I don't see the Titans winning again this week at just plus a half a point. So basically just a pick 'em. The Commanders getting 5.5 at home against Pittsburgh, and the Eagles +1 at the Cowboys is the teaser at plus 100. That's an 8-point teaser.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean that's where I've been making my money basically on college football and the NFL. So. So anything else from you, Clarky, before I let you go?
No, man, but hey, thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully you get those bets in. We can make you some money. If it doesn't, don't look back at us. It's the teams that decide it, not us, right?
It's all for fun, baby. All for fun.
Right.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you very much, and we'll probably see you next week, and we'll kind of review what we how we did this past weekend, and hopefully we made some of you a lot of money. Thank you, Clarky. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Go Cats.
All right, everybody. So, in closing today, I want to thank first of all Old Walls, Jordan Wallenberg, creator and owner of the Old Walls House podcast for helping me through this process of getting it started. I want to thank all you guys for listening, and hopefully this community kind of grows and gets bigger and bigger. I want to thank Billy Gardner for our segment 2 today of our workout wisdom, and of course Jordan Clark, spitting lots of knowledge for our college football and NFL bets this weekend. And just like, subscribe, share it. Honestly, that's the most I could ask of you guys, is just to share it, get the name out there a little bit. And I look forward to doing this next week, and we will see you guys. I love each and every one of you. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.